The wooden horse carried the prince into the sky. No one had told him how to land. It was the most beautiful trap ever brought before a king. A black horse carved from ebony, fitted with hidden screws, and able to cross a year's journey in a single day. Prince Kamar thought he was exposing a fraud. Instead, he was about to vanish above the clouds. The horse arrived at the court of King Saber during a festival of wonders. Its maker, a Persian sage, claimed the wooden animal could rise into the air and fly wherever its rider wished. He mounted it, turned a small control near its neck, and disappeared into the sky. When he returned, the amazed king promised him any reward. The sage chose the king's youngest daughter. She wanted nothing to do with him, and her brother, Prince Kamar, confronted their father. The sage had offered a machine, Kamar said, not the right to take a woman as payment. Angry at the insult, the inventor invited the prince to test the horse for himself. Kamar climbed into the saddle and turned the control before asking one important question. How did it come down? The horse shot upward. The palace became a pale square, the city became dust, and soon the prince could see nothing beneath him but cloud. He pulled the reins and struck the wooden neck, but the machine only climbed faster. Back in the courtyard, King Saber demanded that the sage bring his son down. The man calmly replied that Kamar had never asked about the second control. By the time the king threw the inventor into prison, the prince was already rising toward the heat of the sun. Kamar stopped fighting the horse and searched it with his hands. On one shoulder, he found the screw that drove it upward. On the other, almost hidden beneath the carved mane, he found its twin. He turned it. The horse dropped so violently that the sea rushed up beneath him. Kamar learned to balance the two controls and guided the horse toward land. Night had fallen when he reached the city of Sana'a. He set the machine on the roof of a palace, climbed through an opening, and found Princess Shams al-Nahar inside. She first thought he was the unwanted suitor her father had rejected. Then Kamar told her the truth. He was a prince from Persia who had arrived on a horse of black wood. Before dawn, the palace guards discovered him. Her father demanded to know why a stranger had entered his daughter's rooms. Kamar answered with reckless confidence. If the king doubted his rank or courage, he could send his entire army against him the next morning. At sunrise, soldiers surrounded the field outside the city. Kamar asked only for the strange horse waiting on the palace roof. The king expected a ridiculous last stand. Instead, Kamar mounted the ebony horse, waited until every soldier was watching, and turned the ascent screw. The machine rose above the spear points and carried him away. He returned to Persia alive, but he could not forget Shams. As soon as the court celebration ended, he flew back to Sana'a. This time, the princess chose to leave with him. Together, they crossed the night sky and reached a garden outside Kamar's capital. He asked her to wait there while he prepared a royal welcome. It was a small delay, and it cost them everything. King Saber had released the Persian sage after his son's safe return, but had still refused to surrender his daughter. The inventor wandered into the garden, found his lost machine, and saw Shams waiting beside it. He claimed Kamar had sent him to escort her into the city. Because he knew the horse's secret, she believed him. The moment she climbed behind him, he bound her to the saddle and turned the ascent screw. High above the garden, he revealed the truth. He had built the horse, he hated the prince, and now he would take both the machine and the woman Kamar loved. Shams could do nothing but watch Persia disappear beneath the clouds. The sage landed in a green meadow in the land of the Greeks, where another king was hunting. Shams told the king that the old inventor was not her husband but her kidnapper. The king imprisoned the sage and took possession of the wooden horse. Yet rescue became another prison. The king wanted Shams for himself. To keep him away, she tore her clothes, cried out, and pretended that a spirit had driven her mad. Physicians came and failed. Meanwhile, Kamar searched from city to city, asking for a princess and a horse made of ebony. Months passed before he heard merchants describe a beautiful foreign woman, an imprisoned Persian inventor, and a black wooden horse locked in a royal treasury. Kamar entered the Greek king's city disguised as a traveling physician. He claimed he could heal illnesses caused by spirits and strange machines. The desperate king brought him to Shams. She was screaming and striking the floor, but when Kamar whispered his name, her performance stopped for a heartbeat. He told her to trust him and then announced that he understood the sickness. A spirit from the ebony horse had entered the princess, he said, and no cure could work inside palace walls. The horse and the patient had to be taken back to the meadow where they were found. The king, seeing his chance to possess a grateful bride, agreed to every instruction. In the open field, Kamar ordered the soldiers to stand far away so the spirit could not pass into them. He placed Shams behind him on the horse and tied her securely, pretending the bonds were part of the cure. Then he circled the machine, spoke meaningless words, and climbed into the saddle. The Greek king watched impatiently, certain that the physician would ride back in a moment. Kamar turned the ascent screw. The horse shuddered, lifted above the grass, and climbed beyond the reach of every guard. By the time the king understood that he had been deceived, the black horse and its two riders were already disappearing into the sky. Kamar and Shams returned to Persia, where the court celebrated their marriage for a month. Her father in Sana'a received word that she was alive and had chosen the prince, and peace was made between the kingdoms. But King Sabur had learned what his son had not understood at the beginning. A marvel without wisdom was only a trap waiting for its next rider. He ordered the ebony horse broken apart and its flying mechanism destroyed. The machine that had crossed kingdoms, stolen a princess, and defeated two kings never flew again. Its greatest secret had never been how to rise into the sky. It was knowing when to come down. If you enjoy the darker wonders hidden inside 1001 Nights, subscribe to Nightfall Tales. Another impossible journey is waiting beyond the next lamplit door.